Okay, let me tell you right in the beginning. I think India's democratic system is actually better, in fact, in many ways, far better than America's democratic system. And here is why. Although America is more advanced technologically, however, the governance system in the US was designed hundreds of years ago, around 200 years ago. However, there have been amendments and there have been changes, but the basic structure still remains the same. However, India's system was made only around 70 years ago, and when it was made, it kept in mind lot of contingencies that could arise, which America's system could not envisage that could happen. American democratic system, in my view, is outdated. It needs serious overhaul. However, because there are many people who benefit from it and they have power to not to let it change, it still remains the same. Therefore, it is difficult, if not impossible, to change how the system works. So let us get a brief understanding on how these two systems are and how they differ. So we'll keep a counter of America and India and see who wins more points. Although there could be many ways to compare these two systems, but I choose 5 key aspects on which I will compare America and India. Because in one short video, it is not possible to include all the possibilities where these two systems differ. So the first yardstick of comparison is Electoral College in the US versus Parliamentary democratic system in India. So the US Congress has 2 key components. One is House of Representatives, which closely resembles Lok Sabha, and the Senate, which somewhat is similar to Rajya Sabha. US House of Representatives has 435 members. And these 435 is determined by each state depending on the population of that particular state. However, in the case of Senate, you have 100 senators where each state has 2 senators. No more, no less. So 435 congressmen and 100 senators make it 535 electoral college votes. And above that, we have 3 electoral college votes that come from the Washington DC area, which makes a total 538. Now, when you divide this 538 by 2, which is 50%, you have 269. So if you want to become a president, you need to get at least one more vote than the halfway mark, which makes it +1, which makes it 270. And therefore, an American president needs to win 270 electoral college votes to become the president. Unlike Indian system, where only the Lok Sabha decides who becomes the prime minister, in American system, both the houses decide who becomes the president. Now, each state has certain number of electoral college votes. Now, these are similar to the constituencies in India, where you have Lok Sabha constituencies in a particular state. In case of Texas, for example, we have 36 congressional districts, which are similar to constituencies in any particular state. Now, interestingly, these are all just plain numbers: first district, second district, and so on, all the way up to 36 districts. California has above 50. So the more people live in a state, the more congressional districts it will have. But then over and beyond these 36 districts, you also have 2 senators, which takes the total electoral college votes to 38 from Texas. Now, interestingly, how this election works is that when you are voting for the president, all the people in the state are voting for the president. Okay, you are not voting for your representatives at the time. It is possible that the elections may overlap, but let's not get there. Now, if a given party wins majority of the votes in a particular state, all the electoral college votes go to that party, which is, in my view, quite weird system. For example, let's say in the state of Texas, people throughout the state, if with even one single vote, one party gets more votes than other party, all the electoral college votes, regardless of who they belong to, which party they belong to, are required to go and support that state's mandate. For example, I voted for Biden, but Trump got more votes in the state of Texas. So all the legislators from Texas will vote for Trump. So the electoral college system is where the winner takes it all. Now, to give you a real example, in the state of Texas, Biden won 46% of the votes and Donald Trump won 54% of the votes, roughly speaking. which should translate for Democrats to have roughly 18 electoral college votes, and the Republicans should get around 20 electoral college votes. However, because Republicans won the state of Texas, even though the Democrats should have got the voice for at least 18 of those votes, they will all go towards Republicans. And the vice versa happens in other states where Republican vote is suppressed and Democratic vote is prioritized. For example, in California and New York, Democrats usually always win. So they take all the electoral college votes from these states. Let us try and translate it in terms of India. Let's say UP has 80 Lok Sabha seats, and in India you have several parties that are contesting the elections, right? So would you accept that if one party wins more seats than other parties, even the other party seats will go to the party that has won more seats? Doesn't make any sense. Although some regions in UP vote differently from other regions, their vote is completely discounted in a way. Their vote does not matter. Would I personally like such a system? Absolutely not. And this is where India does it better than America. In America, the winner takes it all in a particular state. However, in case of India, the voice is heard across the country. The representation is across all the states. One state cannot dominate and decide to go in favor of one party over the other like that. So in India, voice of people across all the constituencies is taken into account when selecting the national leadership. And this is where India is better than America in its system. So India's parliamentary democracy system wins over America's electoral college system. So India gets 1 point and America gets 0 points in this regard. The second criteria is to compare the upper houses, US Senate versus Rajya Sabha, and which system is better in my view. In the US, each state has 2 senators, and similar to Rajya Sabha, each senator's term is for 6 years, like Rajya Sabha's members get 6 years term. But the key difference is that in the case of Senate, the senators are elected directly by the people of the state. But in case of Rajya Sabha, the Rajya Sabha members are elected by the legislative assemblies of the states. In America, every single state has exact same representation, where each state gets 2 senators. However, Rajya Sabha is not like that. The population of the state is taken into account, and larger states get more representatives than smaller states. Whereas in America, regardless of the population of the state, you are getting just 2 senators. So why is that a problem? Let's compare 2 states. Wyoming is a small state where the population is less than 600,000, which is 6 lakh people. What that means is that roughly one senator represents 3 lakh people, 300,000 people. However, in case of California, you have around 40 million people, which means that each senator from California represents 20 million or 2 crore people. How can you even compare that? This creates huge imbalance in terms of the voice of the people at the central or federal level. So let me explain the issues that arise because of such arrangement in my view. The voice of so many people from California who are largely Democrat get the same power and representation as the people of Wyoming who are largely Republican. And therefore, the voice of people from California gets suppressed at the national level. The reason I say that is because California has huge population, so many world-class universities, so many world-class companies, so many more educated people and highly qualified people, lot of innovation, lot of industry, and all this still gets them just 2 senators. Wyoming, on the other hand, has very small population. They do not have large industries, and they also do not contribute towards the economy the way California does. So the Senate system literally dilutes the power dynamics in the country. And this is where India's Rajya Sabha system is such a fantastic system that I think other countries should learn from. What happens in case of Rajya Sabha is that it is also a kind of check and balance of power, where you have central government which is decided by the national elections, and Rajya Sabha is decided by state level elections. Now, if there is a government which is the central government, but the same party does not have that many states where it runs the government, it will not have power in Rajya Sabha. So the Rajya Sabha system gets immense power to the states that the Lok Sabha system cannot defeat. If a bill has to be passed, it has to be passed through both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. There are exceptions where if a party decides that it really needs to get something passed, it can call a combined session, but it is more or less a rare occasion. In India, if a party is ruling the central government but it does not have say in the states as much, it cannot force its way through the bills that it wants to get passed. It will have to negotiate and work with the states that are represented in the Rajya Sabha system. So the balance and check of power system is handled much smartly in India. And in this case as well, India takes another point, whereas US again gets 0 points. The third criteria that I have selected is America's two-party system versus India's multi-party system. In India, you can have indefinite number of political parties. A small party can grow into a large party and become a national party. That is not really possible in the US. US has largely two recognized parties, which are Republicans and Democrats. There are other parties such as Green Party, Libertarian Party and so on, but nobody really gives too much attention to these two parties. You literally have two-party system in the United States. So where it falters in my view is that you have to belong to either this party or that party. You cannot have a third or fourth view. In India, it allows for all the views to come together and make national consensus. In India, you don't have just two power centers. You have first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and as many power centers as you like. And all the diverse voices are taken into consideration. In India, small parties also have voice and they also matter. So in this third criteria, again, in my view, India takes the point. So India gets 3 points so far and America gets 0 points. The fourth criteria is voting against party policies. India has anti-defection law where one party member who is elected to Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha or a state legislature cannot leave that party and switch to the other party for money. So India has done really well with its anti-defection law. And the law has been very beneficial for preventing corrupt practices where people can just take money and switch parties. However, it also comes with its own disadvantages. If one member of a particular party does not agree with their party's policies, they cannot go against the party. They still have to go along with the party lines. Say for example, if the BJP government brings a bill and Congress decides to oppose it, but there is a Congress member who wants to support that bill, that member cannot support that bill or else they will be disqualified. Whereas in the US, a congressman or senator can choose their vote based on their own conscience. They do not have to go with their party lines. At best, what you can do in India is that you can make your voice heard and try and convince others of why you are saying it and what you are saying, and maybe try and influence some change in the policies. But that is the best you can do. America gives you a lot more freedom to put your voice forward. In India, the only way you can handle that situation is that you resign from your party, you resign from the position in the parliament, and then get re-elected from the other party's ticket. But in the US, that usually does not work. Once you become a Republican, you're a Republican for life, and same with Democrat. It is not very common, and usually it is not considered to be a good career move if you switch party lines. But overall, because America gives its legislators more power in acting with their personal conscience and even go against party lines for national interest, if that is how they believe it, they can do it. And in this case, America wins 1 point and India gets 0 points. So the tally so far is 1-3 in favor of India. The fifth major criteria in my view is the comparison of mail-in ballot system in the US versus 1.5 to 2 months long stretched election in India. What happens in India? Once the Lok Sabha election starts, the very first vote that is cast as compared to the very last vote that is cast and all the way to the election of a leader and formation of the government, it takes just as much time as it takes in the US. The way it looks different in the US is because it allows you mail-in ballots, versus in India it is not that convenient. Some soldiers can do that, but in the US it gives you the capability that if you are old or if you are handicapped or if you have some issues, you can still mail in your ballot and your vote will still be counted. In India it is not that easy to go into that election day. If you had some travel plans, you cannot really vote. However, in the US, even if you have travel plans, even if there are reasons that you cannot walk into that voting booth, you can still cast your vote. In India, for example, the elections take 1.5 to 2 months across the country, whereas in the US, it might take as much time to find the winner if the mail-in ballots are going to matter. Now, it is not very usual. In many elections, the winner of the presidency is announced the same night as the election night. And because US provides you the capability to make sure that your voice can be heard and you have the right to vote, in my view, America takes that 1 point and India gets 0 point in this regard. Overall, in my view, India does better with its democratic system than America. India's democratic system is more balanced and more evolved than America's system, primarily because it is newer system where a lot of contingencies were considered, whereas American system is outdated in many ways. Now, there are some other issues that I did not touch. For example, in the US, once you become the president, you can remain the president for the entire duration. Your government cannot fall like it falls in India if you lose the majority. In India, if your government falls, you have to go through the entire election process all over again, which is a complete waste of time and resources. Another criteria could be that in India, a leader is not necessarily projected. It is up to the parties to project a leader or not. In America, you have to have a clear mandate that this is going to be our nominee from the Republican Party and this is going to be our nominee from the Democratic Party, and there is a proper debate between the two so that people can get a better idea of who they want to vote for. In India, you do not have that kind of system, you do not have that kind of a debate, and therefore you are only electing your local leaders who will eventually decide the prime minister of the country. However, it is not that bad in India because overall people have a fair idea of who the political parties are, who the leaders are, and if this particular party wins majority and forms a government, who is likely going to be the leader of the country. And my final point in conclusion is that people in India have more direct power in choosing their leaders than people in America do. And because there have been many changes in the constitution and how the system works, I think America can learn something from India in this regard. Thank you for watching. Jai Hind, and may God bless the United States of America.